Kid. This is Palace de Shilarino. It is the interview portion of the show. The Knights are in the house. They record us. If you're like, where are those guys when she does this thing? They actually do crew stuff. That's why they're here. So tonight with us, we have Robbie, who goes under the performance name Elmer and the Ceramic Trees. So first off, let's start. How did you find us?
Well, actually, through my friend Kat, who plays, I used to be in a band with her called Pancake Riot, and she's been a good friend of mine for close to 5 years now. I've known her, and she has her own band, Cat and the Hurricane now, and so she mentioned to me that there was an opening on the show and would I be interested, and I was like, definitely, so...
And this is your first time doing anything like this, huh?
Yeah, first time with like an online radio show like this, yeah.
Yeah, that's because we're so off the cuff. We want to make sure people can see it. We're bringing the world new music, and you were brand new to me. I had never heard of you. And after listening to you, I'm blown away.
Oh, thank you.
Because I got... the message you sent. We listened that night on Monday when you sent it, before we played it on Tuesday. I'm like, what does this sound like? What does this sound like? And I was like, 80s goth.
Yeah.
Like, it's Echo and the Bunnymen, kind of meets Blur, but then you have David Bowie and Neil Young influence, and like, you're kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different genres that comes off as, I would say, a very unique, mellow sound. So, who are your influences, and how did this project come to be?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I have a lot of different influences.
Did we hit any of them?
Yeah, Echo and the Bunnymen are a huge one for me, and David Bowie's definitely one of my all-time favorites. I feel like I kind of go through spurts, like my wife kind of can attest to this, where I sort of get obsessed with different artists at different points. A lot of it seems to depend on the seasons for whatever reason. Like in the summer, I feel like I'm drawn more towards like a lot of 80s guitar-based alternative, Husker Du replacements, Dinosaur Jr., that kind of thing. I think he's the
first one to say Husker Du on this show.
And
Kid loves that band.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites. And then so they're big influences on me. And then Echo and the Bunnymen, definitely. The Cure, David Bowie, Joy Division, New Order to a degree as well. Especially on the last album I did, Maps of Outer Space. I took a lot from New Order, I think, with that album. Who else? Smashing Pumpkins to...
He called that one on Tuesday.
Oh my God, you know music!
So, how did all of that turn into this? How long have you been doing Elmer and the Ceramic Trees?
Well, Elmer and the Ceramic Trees started about, it was 2012, so like 6 years ago. I wish I had like a cool story for how I came up with the name, like in a Ouija board or something like that, but
it spoke to me.
but really I was mowing the lawn, and that's kind of where I do like a lot of my thinking as far as music goes, like just walking and doing things like that, I feel like.
You got a lawn that needs mowing? We'll get a new album out of this guy. Let's do it.
I just, started kind of putting different words together, and then I thought of, some of the bands that I like Echo and the Bunnymen, and Susie and the Banshees are another one, and so I thought, I'll just put a name in front of that, and then, there's no way that anyone else is foolish enough to go by this name, so I don't have to worry about that, because that was always a worry. But yeah, so then I had been playing before that, but that was really when I sort of came up with the concept for that, and I felt like I kind of had, not so much a physical image of what I wanted to look like, but like a musical image and everything. Like I think of music in very visual terms, and I sort of had I don't know if that makes any sense or not, or just sounds like crazy, pretentious nonsense, but I sort of had, this auditory image of what I kind of wanted to be and everything. And
Have
so
you
that's
lived
when
up
really,
to your own expectation?
Probably not. I know my wife is always saying I need to be less
Hard on
critical
yourself?
of myself, but no, I mean, I feel like there's always room for improvement, and I like to think that, I keep getting better with the more that I write, the more that I produce, and, the more that I play live, that hopefully things keep improving with my sound and stage presence and everything, and hopefully eventually I'll feel comfortable with it. But I mean, I don't think it's good to be completely comfortable with where you're at, because then you can kind of get complacent. I guess that's my feeling anyways.
I think that's a good feeling, and I think that you're right. If you just are like, I'm the best since sliced bread, then you'll never continue to achieve anything. So how do you come to be just you and not a full band? Why did you decide to go with, I'm going to do all of it myself?
Well, when I came up with the name initially, I was sort of thinking maybe eventually add some additional people, and I mean, I guess it's something I guess could still happen, but I guess the thing is, I think when I write my songs, I usually have, I mean, some things get changed from, the point of where I'm writing to the point of where I'm producing it. But generally, I think I have kind of a pretty good idea of what I want the finished product to sound like. And I mean, it's not to say that there aren't musicians out there who, could play a guitar part better than I could, or a bass part, or could come up with a better drum part, or, I mean, definitely sing it better than I do. But I just feel like because I have, this idea in my head pretty finished, that it just ends up being easier for me to just do it myself than to try to communicate it to somebody else. And I guess I feel like in order to get things to be how I would want with this project, I'd have to be kind of and have other people involved. I'd have to be a bit of a control freak maybe, and that's not something I do very naturally. So it's not.
So I do it myself because it's safer that way. I gotcha. But so you obviously do all of the parts and you write them. So then, are you classically trained in music? Did you go to school for that? Is that something that you were trained and taught to do? Or did you just one day go, I'm going to get a program and figure out how to make this sound the way I want it to?
It's a mixture of both. I did start playing bass guitar as my first instrument, actually, and that was because before that I kind of wanted to play drums, but then I got really into the Ramones, and I saw these videos of the Ramones, and I saw Dee Dee, and he was playing bass, and he was cool, so I wanted to play bass, and I had some lessons for that, quite a few bit actually, and then I kind of self-taught myself guitar playing to Hard Day's Night, the Beatles album. Of course, the Beatles album, everyone knows that, but and then I did take a music theory class back in high school, which, I mean, I wasn't always great at it, especially the sight reading kind of stuff was very challenging for me. And then I did go to Madison Media Institute for audio production, and so I did learn a lot there, and I'm not working professionally in that field, but that's kind of, I definitely apply a lot of that to what I do now.
And so you're completely do-it-yourself, DIY through and through. Mm-hmm. You have 3 albums currently available,
Correct.
The 4th on the way.
Yeah, 4th on the way.
So tell us a little bit about your other albums. Okay, I do questions in 3s. I don't know if anybody warned you. So tell us about the other albums, how they came to be and such things. when you plan on releasing the new one, and when you release music, are you yourself, as the musician, the artist, releasing that, or do you go through a distributor?
Okay, so all right, a bit about the other albums then. The first album is just the self-titled album, and my wife does the cover art for all of them and does a very good job, I think. So
Golf clap?
There's a lot of eye rolling back and forth going on here.
that's kind of
I'm
my
watching
thing.
her face and she's like,
It's badgering. It's okay.
Doesn't it work like that?
It's like YouTube. Have you not seen our videos?
I'm like wondering if we should just drag you over here.
Seriously.
But so that album, which that's, I guess is, I like a lot of the songs on there still. I guess as a single album, it's, it feels different than the others just because there's, almost all those songs I kind of wrote before I really had the concept of what I wanted to do with Elmer and the Ceramic Trees. And I wrote them at different points. Like there was one that I think the first track, Loveless in La La Land, I think I wrote like the very tail end of when I was in high school. And then there's a couple that I wrote, right before I released the album. So, not right before, but there's a distance between them. So it was like a 5-year gap basically. So it's, and those were like the best songs I thought of what I had already written. And so it was kind of like, stylistically it feels like sort of a mess. And it was kind of, not mess, but I mean it was just kind of hard to, order the tracks in a way where I thought it would sound.
We'll say that.
Yeah, like to make it all sound good together is like a singular work. It's like I am very much an albums person, and I like things, like albums that sound like they're, not just like a collection of songs, but like a work in themselves. So like it was hard to make that one sound kind of that way, and but I mean I do like most of the songs on there. There's a couple that I wrote so long ago that I've played since then, and I almost cringe just because I'm at like such a different place now, so it's hard to relate to them. And like I think vocally I'm a little rough now still, but I think I've improved quite a bit since that one. And then and that one's more a lot of guitar based stuff. It's almost entirely guitar based, so I kind of expanded later. Saturday Night Satellite was my second one, and that was one where I think that was more like where I kind of had more of the concept down and what I really wanted my project to sound like, and so that one I feel pretty happy with. And what else can I say about that one? It's my wife's favorite, I know.
Aww.
And so that one I kind of, that's where more of my Echo and the Bunnymen, The Cure, those influences I feel like show more on that one. New Order and Joy Division, and like when I was starting for that one, I kind of I had more of a singular concept for it, and then it kind of went off the rails, and like there's a piano ballad on in there, and some more acoustic bass tracks, so it's it's more diverse, but I still feel like it's fairly cohesive. And then so the next one then is, sorry if I'm kind of
That's okay.
just rambling. The next one then is, the most recent one was Maps of Outer Space. And
Did your wife do the cover art for that too?
yeah,
All right.
yeah, for all three of them, and then the fourth one she'll be doing too.
Sure.
Yeah, you knew that already.
This hasn't been discussed, and now we're doing family meeting time
It was
live.
asked live, so it's already official now. You have no choice.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not.
on Facebook right now, so it's Facebook.
It's official.
I loved the cover art for that one.
Oh,
Agreed.
thanks.
Very much so. And as I was listening, we played Wilderness as our song on Tuesday, which our little kids just love because they woke up and they're like, that song, and I'm like, because when 7-year-olds kind of talk in stream of consciousness, I catch myself doing that as well.
No.
But like, I'm just waking up, getting coffee, you want coffee, sure, and he comes out, Mom, Wilderness, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, that song from last night, and they were trying, he's like, da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, so just that little bit was an impression, but as we were listening, there is a band named Ulver from Norway, and they started off as a black metal band and then moved on to do a bunch of other stuff, but listening to that, they have a song called Nowhere Catastrophe, and the way that you mixed that song made me think of that. And I was like, really? This is fucking good. So it was fun. It was fun. So tell us about your third album.
Well, that one...
which is what you played your songs from tonight, yes?
Some of them were from that one. Some of them were from, I think I probably did 4 from that one, 3 from the second one, and 3 from the first one.
Okay.
But that one, I think, it's probably my favorite. I have kind of felt that maybe not everyone reacts to it in that way, and which I am fine with. Like, I think it's maybe a little less accessible in some ways, maybe a little less on the poppy end. Not that anything I do is really poppy, but I mean, it's just further out of the mainstream, I feel like, than some of the others. So I'm guessing that's probably kind of why. But it's, I think, my most cohesive album, I guess. And like, it's not really a concept album. Like, I had sort of a concept when I was writing it, but I kind of, discarded that midway through because it's like, oh, that's really stupid. But it does kind of, a lot of it is based around mortality and everything, and coming to grips with your mortality and other people's mortality, and which I guess is kind of a cliche and everything, especially for older artists, not necessarily my age, but anyways, I digress.
You're gonna die too.
Uh-oh.
That's true.
It's okay to accept it now.
So, and I guess it's kind of,
that's a prior planning prevents piss poor performance thing.
You
You have to
shout
accept it
at me
now.
from your car.
it's sort of a more, I guess, spiritual album. I don't know that that's the right word to use, really, because doesn't really take any position, but it's kind of like just kind of wondering, like what happens, and just the different ways that you might kind of believe in different concepts, or maybe in some cases sort of cling to different concepts just to make it easier on yourself.
Music theory.
And then for that album too was a lot different for me writing wise, because my writing style up to that point had been, I just sometimes come up with the lyrics first, but generally it's more of like I pick up a guitar and I just mess around with it and then start singing nonsense to it, and then eventually something comes together after a while. Whereas with that album, a lot of it was based around drum parts, and then I just put in a drum beat and messed around with that and came up with a song, or keyboard parts, which was a different way of writing for me. But I just had kind of gotten bored with writing with my guitar at that point. It wasn't necessarily anything intentional.
Are you breaking
but it was
up
more
with your
than
instrument? Is that
no. But it was...
I'm saying, I'm in search of a different instrument. This isn't going to work anymore.
But yeah, so because of that, it ended up being, I tried to come up with different ways to write with different instruments and different things like that. And so I
Casual
think
encounters with other instruments.
so that definitely shaped the music on that album, I think.
You remember the other 2 questions I asked you?
She has 3 parts.
Okay, so the next one is when is the next one coming?
Yes, your 4th album.
Okay,
Talk about
so this one, I'm, I guess, getting back together with my old instrument.
that. Aww, it's right there. The reunion is cute.
Which, again, wasn't like a conscious thing necessarily so much as I really wanted to actually go more electronic, to be honest, but just it felt like that wasn't working, and then playing my guitar, I felt like I was coming up with ideas again in that way, and I'm sure some of it has to do with what artists I'm listening to now versus then, because it does change. And so it's more guitar focused. I hope not in a way that the earlier stuff is, just because I don't want to repeat myself really, and I like to think that I'm still moving forward and not going back to something else. So I mean, there is still going to be keyboards and things like that, and different atmospheric touches. It's not going to be just a repeat of the first one. So, and for when that one's going to come out, I was originally planning late summer.
Next month?
But
September?
I think it's going to be late fall. We got married earlier this summer in June, so things kind of got put on hold for obvious reasons for that. But I feel like now it's kind of taking shape. There's still a couple things I need to finish up in terms of writing. But I feel like it's, kind of taking shape. I tend to kind of go back and forth when I'm working on things with how I'm feeling about them. Like, I'll listen to something and be like, oh, this is great, and then, a week or 2 later, this is the most terrible thing I've ever done, and then, oh, it's good again, and it just kind of goes back and forth. But right now, I feel like it's taking shape
almost there.
and it's getting close. So I'm hoping late fall will be when that comes out.
Remember question number 3?
And do I go through anybody? Nope, I actually just, my parents at their house actually have a printer that can print out CDs, so...
Holy shit. Listen to this guy. Amen. Because almost every single person that we have had on this show, whether they have played 2 shows and are brand fucking new, to they've been established for a while and they are doing this, almost everyone across the board, minus one band that we can say, Trees of Life, shout out to you guys, goes through a distributor because they feel as if it's easy. Music shouldn't be easy.
Literally, like, one out of 30 bands. Literally.
So, I applaud you. Keep doing that, because if you put that on SoundCloud, I don't know if you have a SoundCloud, it's a question, we'll get there, but that allows you the specific platform to be able to post on Spotify and iTunes. But then you get all of your own royalties and you maintain all of the rights to your music. So even if you wanted to break your contract with, say, CD Baby and say, no, I don't want to use you as a distributor, they still own the property to post on those things. And they're still making money when you aren't.
Yeah.
So can we give a clap to this guy? Thank you for making all of your own music.
Hats off to
Amen.
this guy.
I don't need to soapbox it. Amen. Good job.
Holy shit.
That makes me happy. I mean,
Makes all of us
from
happy.
your artwork to printing your own CDs to writing your own music, all of this is a one-stop shop. This guy's got it. Amen. That
Thank
makes
you.
me happy.
Okay.
So let's move on.
Okay.
Where do you play out, and how often are you playing?
Let's see, where do I play out? Don't play out quite as much as I like to right now. I'm hoping to get more going with that. With the wedding in there and everything, like stuff like that did slow down a little bit. I play in Janesville regularly. There's an open mic where I kind of got my start at with performing.
With
And
Pancake Riot?
Yeah, I played there with them, and then also a lot myself. So I play there pretty regularly. Last week I just played in Milwaukee at Bremen Cafe.
I was gonna
it's
ask
called.
if that's what
Yeah,
it was.
I played
Their
with
venue is cool.
Yeah, it was a really fun experience. I played with Cat and the Hurricane and Super Kick and Cosmic Kick, so that was a lot of fun. And then I've also played
There's the other place in Milwaukee.
Sherman Perk in Milwaukee. I played at,
Coffee
which was
shops.
yeah. So that was a good show as well. The Farmers Market in Janesville. I played 3-hour sets twice this year, which I'm kind of surprised I made it through without passing out, honestly. But that was a good experience, and so yeah, different places like that. There's the Oasis in Grays Lake. I've played.
I've heard of that place now with having multiple people come here. I've never been there, but
it's a fun venue.
So, do you have any upcoming shows?
Next Saturday in Beloit, I'm playing at Rock on the Rock, it's called. And some of my other friends will be there. Cat and the Hurricane's playing there, Candace Griffin's playing there, and Prone to Sorrow's another one that's playing there. And then Robert McClure and Ken Wegman, who are a couple of my other friends from Janesville, will be performing as well.
What genre are you? Where do you fall in the music spectrum?
Oh shit!
And I ask because you're listing these names, and we've heard Cat and the Hurricane. I have seen her play with my friend Monty, which I think all fit with Old Wolves, but that's all different sorts of singer-songwriter sort of stuff. So what genre would you classify yourself as, and what kinds of music, like what music genres are you playing with when you go play a show?
I mean, since I do a lot of coffee shops, I tend to play with a lot of singer-songwriter types, which it's like for me, sometimes I sort of feel a little out of place, but then it's like if I'm playing at, like a bar or something like that where it's, everyone's hard rock or, like that, I feel like a little out of place there too. So it's, kind of a strange feeling. Hopefully I make both groups happy. Like I do have had different groups of people who come up for my CDs, and they're not always the types that you would think of liking the same style. Like there's, I've had like younger kind of gothic-y types come up and want my
totally,
music, and then
but
then
I like the American, Psycho. Is what it basically where she's sitting at the table smoking with her gloves, and she's all Vogue,
But then I've also had, people who are older, we'll say, who are interested in it too. So it's kind of cool to see like different types of people get into my music and everything. As far as what I would classify myself as, I tend to refer to myself as post-punk, I guess, just because I feel like that's sort of a kind of like a catch-all for, punk is definitely an influence on me, but I'm not really punk. Obviously, I'm not really punk or anything like that, but...
why is that an obvious thing?
Well, I don't know about
what you talking about? Maybe you internally are full of angst, Mr. Lawnmower Guy.
No.
Want to cut down all these fucking trees, and if they were ceramic, I wouldn't be doing this fucking job. Cut your own lawn, lady.
But, like, I definitely feel like I borrow from the simplicity of punk. Simplicity is the wrong word to use, because... No, it's not. There's nothing wrong with I don't think there's anything wrong with simplicity in music whatsoever. So, no, that's not the wrong word to use, never mind. But I feel like I definitely have that sort of, kind of the influence of that, but like, like the other, the original wave of post-punk bands, like Joy Division, Echo and the Bunnymen, Susie and the Banshees, The Cure and everything, like they... based what they did around punk, but they also took from other styles and other influences, and, they were okay with slowing it down or, being a little quieter sometimes and having more introspective lyrics. So I feel like that's kind of the genre I most identify with. Other times I just say indie because that's another term where it's like, you know,
That
there's
one
not
is a
really,
catch-all.
yeah, it's,
It is.
which is cheating, I suppose, but.
So on the album we played with Wilderness on it, on the bottom on the tags, I think it said shoegaze.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck is that?
So that's like.
Because I'm like I stare at my feet because I'm afraid of people, or what does that mean as a genre? Because that's what that means. Type in the keywords to make it searchable. What? I've never heard of shoegaze.
We'll get a full conversation about it.
So basically, it was a genre of music that, like My Bloody Valentine's probably the most famous of it. Slow Dive's another one. And it was this genre of music that it was sort of derived from the dream pop genre.
Would Weezer at times cross into that, or Sunny Day Real Estate?
Probably not, I don't think. But I haven't listened to a whole lot of Sunny Day Real Estate, so I could be wrong. But
it just makes, I mean, like that progression. Like,
oh yeah.
Here in town, people were into ska.
Okay.
All right, ska was huge when I was in high school, and then it separated. The scene split, and we had folk like you that came up, and we had the punk rockers who took back the scene that I guess from the 80s was theirs anyway, they claim, and they'll punch you in the face for it. But you're a different type of angst.
No judgment.
It's okay.
Jesus Christ.
But like it makes me think of, you know, the cons and the sweaters, and like I'm polite. You're very polite.
Oh, thank you.
So those two bands made me think that, like,
Okay.
before you defined what shoegaze was, and I would never have thought of that as a way to classify music. How's that word come to be? That's the next, the more you know. I gotta look this shit up.
It's a thing.
And like
Like, how'd you learn about it?
well, mainly by getting into My Bloody Valentine was kind of the band that introduced me to that genre. And like they're a very, like Loveless is one of my favorite albums ever that they have. And it's very strange because like it's very pretty. Like the vocal melodies are very pretty and everything, and they're, you know, very androgynous. There's a male singer, a female singer, they're singing at the same time. So it's these very pretty melodies, but they're drowned by like these guitars that are very loud and almost brittle sounding. You know, it's not what you would think of as sounding good, but for whatever reason it works. And Kevin Shields, the guitar player, he plays both a Jaguar and Jazzmaster, but he his big thing is he has a whammy bar, and he like is lightly pressing down on the whammy bar as he plays, so the guitar's going in and out of tune, and it's really weird. And then Slow Dive was another band from that, and they're a little less extreme than My Bloody Valentine, but it's the same kind of thing. And like they call them shoegaze because they have like a lot of pedals, so they were, at least the stereotype
The more you know.
was that they were looking down at their feet all the time. And like it was for like a very brief moment in time, like the genre was pretty popular in the UK, but then like bands like Oasis kind of came along, and which I enjoy Oasis too, but like the stereotype of the shoegaze bands was that they were you know, kind of these rich kid, art school kids or whatever, whereas the Britpop bands were like the working class kids, which wasn't really true of the shoegaze bands, but that label kind of stuck to them, and they, you know,
those
that
pretentious fucks have money, so fuck you.
Basically, and that kind of, the British press just kind of disowned that whole genre, and then
Jam band.
and that was it for them.
So where can people find you? I know you're on Facebook, and I know that you're on Bandcamp, but where else can people find you? And yes, If you type in Elmer in the trees, there is no one. It is him.
Him.
So
This guy.
good job too. There's not like parentheses UK. So that's completely original. Where can people find you?
Okay, so yeah, Facebook, as you mentioned, Bandcamp. I do have a SoundCloud page, which I don't maintain quite as much as Bandcamp or Facebook, but I do have SoundCloud.
Good. Amen.
Thank Christ.
YouTube is one that I have, and I'm always wanting to kind of, or always saying I'm going to kind of upgrade that, and I am going to focus on.
You're going to have to. You know why? Because in a couple days we're going to send you this YouTube video. We're going to expect that you share it.
Okay, I will. I definitely
It
will.
will be on SoundCloud.
And then you can put it on your YouTube channel.
Okay.
That's how that works.
Okay.
That's the whole point of this.
And then, yeah.
His soon to be updated YouTube page.
Yeah, on my soon-to-be updated, new and improved YouTube page, and then I'm gonna add more videos to that, and probably do some more covers, which is something I've been saying for a while, but I think that's a good way to maybe expose stuff to people who maybe wouldn't think of just looking for me. So I'm on YouTube, and then I'm on kind of on Reverb Nation, I think. I don't really do much with that. And SoundClick and Pure Volume, which I think are kind of relics at this point. I feel like, no offense to anyone who's on those websites or running them, but I don't, it seems like Bandcamp and SoundCloud and YouTube are kind of the dominant ones now, so.
And how do you go about promoting yourself? Would you find that this is an easy or difficult task?
It is.
I had two more.
That was an only two-part question.
Yeah, good job. Are you keeping count? Go away. There's not a tally board. There's not a format.
You can't throw your empty at him. So.
I'm not going to throw anything.
Moving along.
Answer your question.
Okay. So, the self-promotion aspect of this to me is something that it definitely doesn't come very naturally to me. It's something that I really have to work at, just because I am, such an introverted person, and I was writing and making music and even recording music for a while before I really shared it with anybody. So, I had to kind of get over that hump where I was even willing to show other people. So it is something that I definitely have to work at, and that it's not a natural thing. Talking about myself isn't a natural thing for me necessarily.
Oh, you came on the show and we pushed you out of your comfort zone. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
See, look, just approach everything else in life just like this, and you'll be fine.
So yeah, it is something that I've definitely had to work at, and I think I've gotten a little better at it, I hope. But Facebook is definitely one of the ways that I promote myself. And then when I have shows, there's like the Exclusive Company, which that's another place I played at a few times on the record store in Janesville. Like I'll, post flyers there in some coffee shops and things like that. And then just the YouTube videos. I have some performance videos. They're not, it's all self-made stuff, so it's not, high quality music videos or anything like that, but that's another way that I try to promote myself as well.
On Facebook, do you connect with groups on Facebook that match the different genres that you ebb and flow in and out of to be able to seek out other bands you'd want to play with, search venues, that sort of thing? Has that been a useful tool, or do you not utilize that?
I use it somewhat. I can't say I've used it a whole lot. That's something I probably should do more of, honestly.
The more you know.
Yeah.
He taught you something, you taught him something.
Hey, that's the whole point of this show, too. We're going to hit on all the points of the show since there's a record keeper going on back there. The tally card says, merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have merch? T-shirts, stickers, buttons? We know that you will print a CD. So tell us about your merchandise. Is it available where? If someone's like, I really want to get something from you, how does that work?
So right now I'm pretty basic with it in that I just have the CDs.
Like pumpkin spice? Because I love pumpkin spice. Basic is good, and I hate that people have created this negative connotation of it. Fuzzy boots are warm. Little puppies are cute. Fuck y'all with trying to be mean about being basic. With a smile, so it's confusing, right?
But yeah, so I'm pretty bare bones, maybe I should say, with it. Right now I just have the CDs. Stickers is the next thing that I want to do. We're kind of trying to come up with like a, something that would be a good logo for this, because I haven't really settled on anything in that regard. So like I think once we kind of figure that out, then I think stickers is going to be the next thing that we do. I mean, I'd like to eventually do some t-shirts. I guess the thing with that is I want to make sure that there's like a demand for it before I create a bunch of shirts.
Have you posted your CDs on your Facebook to sell?
I'd share
in the shop section.
In the shop section, yeah, I do have a shop section on there. Yeah, actually, I think, yeah.
I was gonna say, because that's how you know if you have market value. Hey, because if you just did like, I don't know, 20 shirts and brought them to a show, chances are people will buy them because that's cool.
Yeah.
I want a shirt. I want an Elmer and the Ceramic Tree shirt.
I'll make one and then I'll get it to you.
So, if you are looking to eventually create merchandise, keeping with that still theme of the do-it-yourself, will you guys get a printer to print out your stickers? Will you get a button maker to make buttons? Are you going to make your own shirts, or are you going to look for a third party to help you with that?
The shirts, I think we'll probably have to outsource, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
You know what we do? We make merch.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, just so you know.
Good to know.
Yes, Mike's our merch guy.
Okay, so
He makes
yeah.
t-shirts.
So yeah, we can keep it pretty DIY then.
Right.
Instead of going through some big company, or not big company.
It is definitely local, homegrown, and done here. So, I mean, not in the basement, but like.
So you don't do everything here?
We don't do everything in the basement. We do have outside locations where we affiliate ourselves. Like, when you're sitting in your living room making buttons. I was super proud of myself for pounding out how many ones I made. I was like, look, I'm getting strong. It's a thing. But I mean, those are small investments too, that if you're the artist, who is visually drawing out things and you are making the music, I mean, $150, you buy yourself a full button kit, you can do all of that yourself. Which I really like that you've taken the time and passion to do.
Oh.
Because that is a rareness that you don't see. Most people love their band, they do their thing. But then the little things that need to be worked on to help with promotion isn't done. And you've already got that covered. So good job.
Thank you.
Kudos to you.
Thank you.
Who would you like to play with?
Like,
If you put a show
if
together.
I could say anybody?
Yeah, what would be your dream show that you got to play?
Oh, geez. It's gonna have to be like a festival level lineup.
Okay, we're gonna limit it. We're gonna limit it to
Okay.
you and 3 bands.
Me and
Because I do things in
bands.
threes.
Okay.
Holy Trinity, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, well, The Cure's definitely gotta be on there. Completely never ever going to happen for obvious reasons, but the Beatles would be on there. So there's 2, and then so I have to add a third one. I'm gonna say 1 and then instantly regret it because I'm gonna think of somebody else. But
There's no radio edit.
but, well, I'll say Arcade Fire. They're definitely one of my favorites, and we saw them at Summerfest, and it was amazing. And they're definitely an influence on me with how I feel like they've kind of, they don't stick to one thing too much. They're okay with going from genre to genre, not genre to genre, but with touching on different genres and still sounding like themselves. So I guess they would be the third one.
So we're getting close to the top of the hour,
Okay.
which means we're going to end soon.
Okay.
But I have a question
Okay.
that I have. Thus, it was like an epiphany. Like, fuck, why don't I ever ask this? You're gonna be the first person I ask this question to.
Okay.
When we get music submissions and we're listening to something on, say, Bandcamp or whatever, and the album is posted electronically, how do you decide what is that song as your preview? Because when you pull up, your music, the first new album comes up, and that's what Wilderness was. So boom. How did you make that selection? How do you put in order as you what songs you want listed?
Well, for an album, it usually kind of comes naturally. Like I feel like like a lot of, I change it somewhat, but it's almost like when I write a song, I'm like, if I'm sure I'm going to use it, it's almost like, okay, this sounds like it's going to be the second song on this album, which I know probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I feel like there's just, it almost kind of creates itself generally, at least when I'm putting together an album playlist. Like, I feel like I kind of have sort of a grasp at least of where things should go, like what song is going to kind of flow into this song and that sort of thing. I don't know if that is a good way of explaining it, but it's almost like something that I don't give a whole lot of thought to because it almost comes kind of naturally. That's probably one of the few things that does kind of come naturally to me is, the flow of music. I think generally I get and I have a grasp of that. With something like Bandcamp, because Wilderness is the third song on the album technically. For that, I guess it's more with which song I choose to put at the top there. I usually use audience reaction, I guess, like with what I play live, what I feel like people react to the most. I ask my wife a lot. I always ask her opinions on things. It's kind of like my advisor on that sort of thing because I'm not always a good judge of what other people are going to like in terms of my music. And there's some songs where I've written and I'm like, oh, this is garbage, and then I show it to her and she's like, no, it's good, and then it ends up being what everyone else likes. So I'm just kind of between those things. I usually use other people's opinions as far as that goes because I feel like I'm not far enough removed from it myself to be able to have like a non-biased view of it. There's certain songs that I may be a little more attached to than what the audience kind of tends to be attached to, usually for a personal or emotional reason. So I just try to go off of what works with other people.
That was a sample question that will keep coming back because I like it and I want to know. I've always wondered about that, so thank you.
Yeah,
This has been Robbie from Elmer and the Ceramic Trees. The next show that you can catch him at next Saturday?
Next Saturday,
Which
August 4th.
Yes, I was going to say August 4th in Beloit, Cat and the Hurricane, which you can catch on this show, August 16th. And for everything else that is Elmer and the Ceramic Trees, check them out on all social media platforms. And to connect most directly, check them out on Facebook. Thanks!
Yep, thank you.
Okay? Thanks. Where's my
Bye.
peanut gallery?
Oh.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Bye!
Bye.